John Sonmez from SimpleProgrammer.com. I'm over here in Maui. I'll be recording a lot of my videos for the next 2 months from Maui. Took a trip to Hawaii for a little bit of a break. I'm supposed to not really be working right now. I tend to work somewhere around like 10 months out of the year and then take a couple of months off. That's how I prefer to do things that way. So, but I want to do some videos while I'm here, answer a couple of questions that I've got, and I figured it'd be a good opportunity to make some videos in Hawaii. Maybe I'll try to do some by the beach or something like that later on if I'm feeling a little more ambitious. But anyway, I had a question here. I thought this was a good one. I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to incriminate anyone here, but the email says, "Hi John, I've seen several of your Pluralsight courses and have really been following your blog and YouTube channel for the past several months. I really appreciate your work. I value your opinion and I thought I'd ask this question. What is your opinion on internet surfing at work? I'm not one of those guys that surfs the net all day at work, but I do occasionally check a blog, do an Amazon search, or watch a non-work related YouTube video. What do you think about that? Am I being lazy or stealing time from my employer, or should some downtime be factored into my workday? Thanks." So this is an interesting question. I'm sure you're real curious to see how I'm going to answer this one, but so I've got a couple of thoughts on it. I don't really see any problem with taking some down. Well, okay, let me back up a little bit and say this. You are going to have some downtime in just about any normal job. Like, you're not going to be able to just sit there and work for 8 hours. Not going to happen. I mean, you might take that downtime by talking to coworkers, by goofing off in some other way, but whatever you do, you're going to have some kind of downtime. So here's the deal. It doesn't necessarily matter if you spend that downtime browsing the web, so long as it doesn't interfere, make it appear that you're not working, or you're sitting at the water cooler, chatting with coworkers. But that doesn't mean that you. So what I'm saying is basically, it's going to probably happen. It's silly to pretend like no one does it. It's silly to think that that it's so inappropriate. Like, let's not make this. Let's not be pretending like this doesn't happen and like it's not normal and that you're robbing your employer of time, because this is. I mean, you can't hire someone who's a robot, and everyone knows that it's expected to some degree. So we might as well just be honest about the subject. Now, with that said, you might personally not want to take that downtime in a non-productive way. So what I mean by that is, wasting your time browsing the web and stuff like that. That doesn't help your career or doesn't help you personally. Just watching cat videos or whatever. That's a waste of time. That doesn't value your employer, doesn't provide value to your employer or value to you. The best time, I think, or the best thing to do is to use that time to either further your career or do something you enjoy doing that would maybe even dare I say this, on your employer's time, work on a side project. But the reality is, if you're going to spend the downtime anyway, that would be a better thing to do. Just be careful with that, obviously, or maybe it's just reading blogs and stuff that are related to software development, or watching videos that help your career or help you in some way. I don't really consider that even to be downtime. That's something good. That's advancing your career. That's your employer should actually like you doing. So things like that. I mean, I would just advise to try and be as productive as possible with that time, but I wouldn't really worry about it. I mean, and occasionally everyone's going to check personal email and all that. Different employers are going to look on that differently, so you have to, know where you're at. But I wouldn't feel too guilty, about that. Now, with all that said, there is another way of thinking about this, which is, if you're planning on going the entrepreneurial type of road, where you want to work for yourself someday, you need to get into the habit of basically almost busting out a full 8-hour day, or full 8-hour day, basically, right? Because as an entrepreneur, you don't get paid to chat, or you don't get paid to goof off. And that was one of the hardest adjustments for me. Was, I mean, I was a hard worker always when I worked for someone else, but there was a lot of downtime, a lot of goofing off or not working as hard as possible, which I had to get used to on my own. So I'd advise you, if you're planning on going down that road, then really start try to have almost no downtime, and feel what it's like to put in the full effort of the full day, and that's what you can get used to. So I know my answer is kind of all over the place, but basically, I guess I would say, let's not pretend like this doesn't happen. Let's not have a secret shame or guilt. It's more of it's not a right or a wrong thing to me. This is the key thing that I guess I would say is, it's a strategic thing. So what is the best strategy for you? Maybe it is to take the downtime and to just browse the web or whatever, because that helps you to work better. If that is, honestly, then take that. Fine. If maybe it's to use that time in some kind of productive way that still entertains you, still gives you a bit of a break, right, do it that way. Or maybe because you have high ambitions where you want to basically become an entrepreneur or whatnot, or you have very high career ambitions, maybe it makes sense to not take the downtime at all. But I wouldn't let the idea of guilt or the idea of, oh, you should be working so hard for your employer play into that at all. Because the honest truth is that everyone has a downtime, that if you're doing your job, if you're being as productive as expected, then the amount of hours really is not necessarily that important, especially in a salaried type of position. I'll flip it around like this. Most employers have no problem making employees work 60-hour weeks when they've agreed to 40, because that's a salary is negotiated based on the expected work week. So you shouldn't have any problem at all working a 20-hour week if that is what is required to get your work done at certain times. So I know it seems a little bit strange, but that's the truth. I mean, in reality, in business, what we want to do is get our work done, produce what we can produce, and sometimes the best way to produce is to take downtime. Sometimes it isn't. It depends. It might even go in phases and cycles. So the key thing that I would say, though, again, is don't base it on guilt. Don't base it on right or wrong. Base it on strategy. What will be the best strategy for you personally in your career development and for the direction that you're going? And that's gonna let that be your guide. It might change at different times. Well, I hope that has helped you and some others out there. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you like these kind of videos. And thanks for joining. See you next time.